Welcome to my beginner's online class, How to Sew a Scissor Pouch. You may already have made Debbie Cole's fantastic boxy bag. Now accessorize your bag with this gorgeous scissor pouch. My students came up with fantastic ideas for both the pouch and the bag. Rebecca created this charming country look. Beth went mad for crazy patchwork and bunting, while Louise kept it simple and stylish. You can fasten the pouch by using a headband. It's really easy, just wrap it around. Inside your scissor pouch you've got 3 compartments. One where I keep all my needles for the sewing machine, one for the tape measure, and then another one for the scissor. At the top you can see I created a curve. But you can leave that off. In fact, Rebecca used the flap to make a little needle pouch where she can keep all her sewing needles. Now let's have a look at the pattern. Here you can see my quite complicated curve, which you can just leave out. Just when we cut it out, if you cut straight across, there will be no problem whatsoever. So let's get started. Here is my selection of fabrics that I'm using for my boxy bag and my scissor pouch. The scissor pouch I will be making just with the red and check fabric, whereas for my boxy bag I'll also use the yellow and the gorgeous fabric you can see here with the VWs. The pattern is downloadable from my website. It's a digital pattern, so if you are not very sure about those, then download this for free and maybe you'll really like them. It's got 4 parts, A, B, C and D, which you need to sellotape together. Again, that's quite easy because you've got attachment lines. And let's look at how we fold this up. So you fold from one side, then from the other side, and then backward. And that gives you those 3 pockets. And it's also quite good because now we can have a quick look at what it'll actually look like. Again, you can leave the flap if you like totally off, or you can leave out the curve and just cut it out straight, and that makes your life easier. There are also some templates with this pattern, and I've included the hearts for you. Pin on your pattern piece with the right sides facing each other. You can't see my red, but I promise you it's underneath there. Once you've cut it out, you remove the lining and you work with the shell fabric. Fold it so it's the right sides coming to the outside. The flap here would be the wrong side, and we are now going to put on our felt hearts. Just make sure that you've got enough at the top because there's a 1 centimeter or foot width seam allowance, whichever you feel more comfortable with. Stitch them on. You also want to put some ribbon on the outside of the flap like the photograph shows here. I forgot it when I did my bag and I had to add it later. But please do it now, it's so much easier. Now we want to attach some wadding to a few of the parts of the bag. When I originally made this bag in my class to test it out, we actually put the wadding underneath the whole lot. And that was far too thick. You could hardly sew it and really it didn't look very nice. I felt a bit sorry for my students because I really did get that wrong. So what you want to do is just cut the wadding so it fits underneath it. I use any sort of rest just so it catches in the seam allowance. It doesn't even have to do that, to be fair. You could tack it all the way around and leave the seam allowance off, and by the time it's finished and top stitched it'll be securely in there and it won't make the seams thick. So that's up to you how you do it. I also put the wadding in the far corner, but I only remembered that in a minute. You'll see it. There we go, and I'll fold it over and think, should I put some on? Yes, so I did it then, so do that straight away. And now we are just going to pin the whole lot. You need to pin that quite well. Again, if you have that connecting bit there where the flap is, if that was straight over, you wouldn't see that curve. You make sure you leave an opening on the long side there, and I've put some pins in and I sew all the way around. Right, all done. I've caught my wadding in some places, which is quite good, but it wouldn't be any hardship if it didn't. So what you need to do now is actually trim your round curves, and you also trim across the corners, and you cut right into the points, as you can see me do here. It's really important you go right to the stitching. So if your stitch is quite small, and I would suggest that for sewing around, maybe 1.5 in a setting, then it won't come apart and it looks really, really cool. So go to the furthest part to turn your scissor pouch. And iron it all flat. And next I'm going to do my cover button. So for the cover button, you just cut out a round piece, and then you go around with a running stitch, and then you pull that running stitch and you put your button inside, and then you just put the top part on. It's actually dead easy to do. There's nothing to it, unless you have got really old buttons like I did, and that took me about 5 minutes to get the top part on because it was so rusty. Anyway, moving on swiftly, I made 2 buttons. The one for the top I did with a check, and the lower button I did in the red. Now you want to fold over fold line 1 and 2, and we are going to stitch across both layers all the way down. So start at the top and then go all the way to the end. Do not sew too close to the edge. That's very important because otherwise it won't catch it all. Now I've sewn this down, I put down the last fold, and I'm actually giving this a little bit of give there. So you can see it comes out a little bit, and I'm just sewing on the check now, all the way down, across and back up. And again, you don't want to be too close to the edge, and here you can see it's finished, so it looks like it's all one line, but really it isn't. And now we're going to just finish the flap by top stitching all the way around to the point that the curve starts, or slightly over, so you can see here. And then I'm going to just secure the sides of that curve as well and top stitch those down through both layers, and that finishes your scissor pouch. Of course you can leave that step off if you have indeed cut straight across when you were cutting it out. You don't need to do that. You can maybe just tack a stitch in the corner of the flap just to hold it in place, and you're done. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know how your scissor pouch turns out. I'd love to see it and put it on my website, in my gallery. And if you're watching this video before you actually make your boxy bag, then I would pop across and find out how to make that and how to get the pattern. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.